Bonjour, 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 and welcome back to my channel, The Waves of Your Soul. Today's video is kind of round 2 of a video I did not too long ago sharing with you my new decks. It's just a good old deck haul, oracle decks, tarot decks. I've also got a couple of books to show you, new things that have come into my life in the last few months. We're looking at things that have come in since like April, May, June, that kind of time frame. Some of those things, because I've had them for a couple of months, I'll be able to give you like mini reviews of what I thought of them, and some of them have literally just arrived a couple of days ago, so I won't have much to say, but we can discover them together, and that's gonna be fun as well. Per usual, all the names of the decks are gonna be in the description box below, along with all of my social media links, other videos you might want to check out. And if it's your first time here, hi, my name is Marine, I'm a French tarot reader, and I love decks. I love oracle decks, I love tarot decks, I love books about decks, I just love cards in general, card slinging, and I also really enjoy reading cards for others. So on my channel you'll be able to find videos such as this one where I share my passion, but also tarot readings, pick a card readings that are all dedicated to helping you to help yourself. So if you'd like to see all of those things on your timeline, don't hesitate to subscribe. If you enjoyed this video, you can give it a thumbs up or leave me a comment. I love reading you, and I try to reply to every single one of my comments. I just really appreciate you being here. So without further ado, let's look at all the new decks that have come into my collection recently. Let's start with books. Last deck haul I shared, I was telling you that one, I've been getting more into Marseille and reading with Tarot de Marseille, as well as reading with playing cards this year, and two, that I was super bummed out that Book Depository closed, which was a website like an online book and deck retailer, and they closed down this year, which was literally the drama of my life because they were my main supplier for English books, English mass market decks, and they had free shipping to where I live, and it was just amazing. So before they closed, I think their last opening days were in May, or I don't even remember now. But anyway, before they closed, I did a huge order. I ordered books, I ordered decks, because I knew that as soon as they would close, there would be no way for me to get all of those English decks and English books that I would want, or unless I would pay like double what I used to pay. So I just maximized the shit out of that order, and it's starting to slowly trickling in. Some of them could take months, because if you don't know, I live in the Indian Ocean on a little island called Reunion, so shipping to me can take months, sometimes even year or years. I'm not in a rush to start receiving things, but when they do come up, it's nice. And so those two books I did pick up before Book Depository closed, and they did arrive not too long ago. So this one, called Cartomancy in Folk Witchcraft, Playing Cards in Marseille Tarot and Divination, Magic and Lore. This is by Roger G. Horn, and this is very, very recommended. When I watched like all the YouTube videos from people who shared how they were learning Marseille or playing cards and things like that, this particular book came always in the top 3 of people's recommendations, so it was a no-brainer for me. It's quite thin, which is good. I don't want to overwhelm myself with too much stuff right now, so it's about 200 pages, which is good enough for me right now. And apparently it's a really good walkthrough of how to read with playing cards and with Marseille. All the books I've had so far on Marseille were from French authors, so I was keen to expand my vision from other perspective, and because this includes folk witchcraft, it's another kind of layer, so I'm very excited to get into this. And if you guys have read this already, let me know your thoughts. I'm excited to hear what you think. And the other book I received from my huge insane, very unhinged, I'm not gonna lie, order this order is gonna give us content for the next year, I'm telling you guys. At the rate of things slowing, trickling in, and the amount of stuff I ordered, like all the books and decks I ordered, we're gonna have enough to talk about for the next year, way long after Book Depository closed. The next book is Tarot on Earth by Tom Benjamin, and I think a lot of you are familiar with Tom Benjamin because he has a really fantastic tarot channel. I'm going to leave his channel down below. If you've never watched his videos, definitely go check him out, because for me, he's one of those tarot teachers that I really appreciated. Way long before I started my own channel, he was one of the first channels I was watching, and so I've learned a lot from his content, from his demeanor, And obviously, because I've been getting more into Marseille, it made only sense to pick up his Marseille book. He has another book about regular tarot. So this one is completely dedicated to pip decks, learning how to read with pip decks, and also learning how to read with Marseille. So we have the pips, the trumps, the visual language of tarot, and putting it together. And Tom's approach is very practical. You can see that in his videos. He does so many videos that can help you how to be a practical, down-to-earth reader, answering questions, making sure you don't go off on a tangent, and trying to be the most efficient reader possible. Really appreciate his approach. I don't necessarily read the same style that he does, because I don't mind doing spiritual readings, but at the same time it's important for me to expose myself to those type of readings which are more down to earth. So that's something that I really want to be better at. I heard great things about this particular book. It's one of the most recent books on Marseille, I think, that has gotten so many great reviews. So I can't tell you anything about it because I've not read it yet, but I'm very, very excited, and I already trust the author. Like, I know it's gonna be good because I already enjoy all of his videos, so I'm excited to get into this very much. And like I said, because I've been consuming a lot of French books on Marseille, it's gonna be nice for me to expose myself to another kind of understanding or prism. Same if you've read this, or if you have other book recommendations or want to share your thoughts, definitely let me know in the comments. I will be discussing those books, I'm guessing, in future monthly favorite videos. Once I've had a chance to sit down with them, review them, work through them, I'll give you my thoughts. Usually monthly favorites is where you can see what I've been working with, what I've been using, what I've been studying. So let's move on to decks. Let's talk about decks, baby, because I have a huge pile waiting for me to share it with you. I'm gonna start with, I bought this for science. Okay, I bought this for science. The story is I needed shoes, so I went to get shoes, and when I left I didn't find the pair of shoes I needed, but I did find a deck. Which, come on, I'm not the only one who does that, right? Like, you go out to shop for something, you don't find what you want, but somehow you always find a deck that you want instead, right? So I might be barefoot, but at least I got a cool new deck. So Le Tarot des Oppositions, it's a French version, mass market, of the Tarot of Opposition. In English, I think it's by Lo Scarabeo. Here it's Lo Scarabeo, but printed by Intuitive Edition. And so I totally bought this for science. Like, I genuinely had no intention of ever getting this deck, to be honest. But then I went into the bookshop and I saw it there, and I was like, okay, maybe I will give it a go. So it comes with, the French edition comes with a only French guidebook, which is actually really good. Obviously the Lo Scarabeo edition that has the English edition will come with different languages as well as English. I don't know if the backs are the same on the English edition, let me know, but as you can tell, it's glossy, you can see the camera. So I'm not a huge fan of the gloss factor, purely because for video making it's not ideal. This deck has the particularity that it has two sides, upward illustration and a reversed illustration that is supposed to kind of represent the reverse meaning of that card. So here we have the Queen of Pentacles. This is like the upward side where it's all light and she's looking at the pentacle. And here is the downward side where maybe she looks a little bit more greedy, and you can see the background is more intense, her expression has changed, the pentacle is down, but everything is linked in this really beautiful way. So in terms of the artistic style of this, it's really well done. And I had originally seen that deck on my friend's channel, Niha from Dark Fate Tarot. I'll leave her channel down below. She presented this deck, I think, a few months ago, maybe even last year, and she loved it. And at the time I thought it was really cool, but I was like, I don't know if I need that in my life. And then when I went to the bookshop, I saw it there, sitting there, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I should get you, bring you home and give you a try, and just doing it for science. Like, I need to know how this reads for me. Don't you do some? I don't know if I'm the only one who does that, but sometimes it's not until you work with a deck that you know if it works for you or not. I thought that this deck, especially for pick a card readings, would be really interesting. So I'm excited to put this deck to good use, mostly for my pick a cards, because I think it's interesting to have this double kind of side. So I've already shuffled it, and I've shuffled it in a way where you can get upwards and reverse. So as you can see, some of them are already like mixed in. Some of them, the difference between the upwards and reverse is very subtle. For the Six of Pentacles, for example, as you can see, the upwards, it's this lush kind of nature, and then for the reverse, meaning nature looks a lot darker. There's this little animal here, so maybe the animal is guarding, protecting, so maybe we could think like it's about possessing things, about keeping things more hidden, more stashed away, being less easy to spot. Here the universe is letting you find money on your walk. Here you're probably gonna walk by that money and not even notice it. That's the vibe. It's very subtle, but on some of them it's really well thought out. So I'm debating what I'm thinking about this. So the Eight of Swords, we have the upwards one. You've managed to untie yourself from your limiting thoughts. You've managed to cut the rope. The reverse one, you're stuck in that mentality. You've got the tools, but you've not managed to free yourself. So this one for sure, there's a stark difference, and it makes sense. For some of them it's very subtle, and like I said, I have reserved my I'm reserving my judgment for now. I think it's interesting, and I'm excited to put this to good use, like I was saying, on pick a card readings. And that's when I start reading with this for like general readings and stuff, and that's when I know what I think of it and how usable it is, because I don't even read with reversals normally. So that's also like why I was doing this little science experiments, because I want to know, okay, do I want to go back to reversals, because I used to read with reversals and then I stopped. The upward, meaning the Knight of Wands, looks triumphant and clear and kind of like concurrent and glorious. Here he's probably been at it for too long. He has forgotten his passion. Even his wand is not even glowing anymore. It looks a lot darker, and even his demeanor. He's lost his passion, he's lost his sparkle and his fire. The next one, we have the Mike Wilcox Tarot Oracle. I pre-ordered this in 2022. Artists offered the pre-orders that were going to be shipped this year, and my copy, because it came from the US, only arrived I think about 2-3 weeks ago. So I've not had this very long, but it's one of those that, because I pre-ordered so long ago, I had kind of forgotten what it was supposed to look like, to be honest. So it was a nice surprise. This comes in this box. I don't even know if this is still available to purchase. I will, if I can find a link to it, I will put it in the description box below. I am not the strongest person. My upper body strength is not the best. So this particular box is very tight, and it's a bit of a struggle for me to open. Like, I'm a weak baby, and so this is definitely not how I'm gonna store it in the future. I just wanted to show you how it looks. But honestly, this got to go because my little muscles can't deal. So when you open it, it comes with this gorgeous, super beautiful actually, book, hardcover. We have gold edges, like the whole book vibe is very beautiful. And then inside you have the deck that actually comes in a tuck box. As you can see, mine didn't travel too well, but it's okay. This happens quite a lot to me. When things come from literally across the world, I can't expect things to be perfect. And at least the cards were protected and the cards were fine because they come in their own little tuck box, so I'm fine with this. And this is definitely how I'm gonna be keeping the deck. Major only deck, and so it's Tarot Major Arcana. And then we have Oracle cards that are based around natural phenomena. And we also have the Zodiac signs, like the 12 signs. So originally I got this deck because one, I thought that the artwork was beautiful, and two, because I enjoy Zodiac cards. For, again, pick a card readings, I'm debating going back to sign-based readings. Maybe, I don't think I would do them monthly. because it's a lot of work, but I might do that for seasons. I'm debating doing that. 3 months at trimesters kind of vibes, doing a reading for every single sign. Let me know in the comments if you would like that, if you would like a reading per sign, like on a trimester kind of basis, because then you could watch your sun, moon, and rising sign and make your own kind of reading for the next 3 months. I used to do that on my channel. It was a lot of fun and I enjoyed it so much and I miss it. I'd love to know if you are into that. Let me know. It reminds me of the aesthetic from ancient Greek vases. You know, those very straight line. The faces look very Greek looking in this particular deck, and there's something about it that I find super appealing to my like mythological Greek loving heart. Like, for example, the back of the deck for me is totally giving the god of the wind. In French we call him Eol. I don't know about English, I'll have to look it up. Which we see him again in the hurricane. So we'll have oracle cards and major arcana cards from the tarot. I've mixed them all in because I've been using this particular deck separately. I've kept the zodiac card separately for now, and for myself, for my own readings, as I've been getting to know the deck for the last couple of weeks, I've just mixed in the oracle cards with the major Oni cards. Here we have the high priestess. There's something about this particular artwork, yeah, that it's giving like Greek vases to me, and I'm so here for that. A lot of the oracle cards are related to natural phenomenon. We have the ocean, the river, the tree, and I love that because I see a lot of archetypes in nature myself, so I really appreciate this particular point of view. Technically you could have 3 different decks here. You would have a zodiac pack, you would have a tarot major Oni, and an oracle deck, or you could just mix everything in together. That's the beauty of those kind of decks. I love the idea of like, you do you, boo. That's very much in line with my personal practice, my personal version of working with the cards. I like the freedom of it. I adore this full card, and the symbolism behind the deck, it's really well thought out. When you read the book, he explains the color choices, he explains all the symbolism, so you can tell that it was created with thought and intention. The one thing that is very annoying is that there's actually a misprint of the numbers on one of the cards. I think it's the moon. Yes, I'm pretty sure it's the moon and the sun that's been inverted, and even in the book it's also been inverted, and that kind of bothers me, I'm not gonna lie. So we have the star as number 17 as per usual, and then we have the sun as number 18 and the moon as number 19, which normally it's the other way around. Is it the end of the world when you're reading with the deck? It's not. As you can see, it's also wrong on the cards. It's not, because normally when I read, I look at the title. I don't pay too much attention to the number. But when it's just a major Oni, you wish that at least the numbers were properly put. And I know this is gonna bother the hell out of people. And I understand, I'm not one to judge. It is a little annoying, I'm not gonna lie. So that's one thing to be aware of. I don't know if this is gonna be reprinted and if they'll amend it, but that being said, the book in itself is really beautiful. Like, you have for each of the cards, so let's pick strengths for example, you have a full black and white rendition of the card. You have keywords, then you have like a key message about what strength means to them. You have a mantra for every single card, the same for the oracle cards and stuff, which actually has been my favorite part of the guidebook. I really enjoy the mantras. And my own second favorite part is the reflections here, because a lot of the time it's like journaling questions, and I really like those. I like questions. I like to rake my brain from time to time. So you have that for every single one of the cards. So for example, for the ocean, oh look, I couldn't have done that on purpose if I wanted to, but that's perfect. Same, we have the keywords, we have the meaning of the card, we have a mantra, and we have reflections. And then on the side you have pages here to write what you want. Can I ask, who writes here? Is there one person watching the video that does write in those kind of books? When you get guidebooks like this that have pages left for you to write into, who writes in them? I'm genuinely asking out of curiosity, because I've never met anyone who uses those pages, and even I, as a chaotic, unhinged Aries person, have never dared to ruin those books with my shitty writing. That's maybe because I'm uptight, I don't know. But I'd love to know who is brave enough to use those note pages in those kind of guidebooks that we get with tarot and stuff. Are you here? Do you exist? Are you out there? If you are, please make yourself known so I can like learn from your bravery and soak up your fierceness, because I think that's pretty badass, but I've never dared to do that myself. Honestly, I've been enjoying working with this for the last 2 weeks, so watch out for my June favorites, because I'm gonna be sharing more thoughts about this deck. Okay, moving on to those two indie decks from the same artist. This is the Ellis deck, and this is the Tarot of the Starbound Fantasia. They are both by Taylor Ellis, who I believe is based in America. So these two decks were my own birthday present from me to me. Usually every birthday I go through, to celebrate the fact that I'm still alive, I treat myself to like an indie deck I've been wanting for a really long time. So I ordered this in March when it was my birthday, and because it came from the US, it only arrived literally like a few days ago. But I'm super pumped to finally have this deck in my hands, especially the Ellis deck, which actually I've been wanting for years. This is one of those decks that's been on my wish list for at least 3 years. So this was a really long wait, but also I'm so excited now to finally have it. I hadn't planned on getting this particular one, but when I went to purchase this, they were having a sale on these and they were selling them for 50% off. So I got this for like $25, I think, which for an indie deck is unheard of. So at the time I was like, it's gonna be the same amount of shipping whether I get this one or the two of them, and for $25 more I can get this whole other deck, which is also really cool and which I kind of had been eyeing but I wasn't sure about. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. The Ellis deck, like I was saying, it's been on my wish list for years. One of those decks I've been wanting the longest. I think a lot of you will be familiar with it because it's a really well-known and adored deck in the community. It doesn't come with a guidebook, but it comes with this little pamphlet, which actually is super cool. Each of the suits is linked to the numbers, and for the numerology and the suit, they have created like one single keyword for each, which is really well thought out. So this, awesome. It doesn't look like much, but it's really cool. And then on the other side you have the majors. Here is the side, it's gold edge. This is pure fantasy. The artist particular art style is very unique, and I think it's one of those artists that when you see their work you recognize it instantly. And like I was saying, I've been wanting this deck for so long, so I'm so excited finally to get into this. This literally showed up 2 days ago. It was a good mail day 2 days ago, which is why I decided to do the video, because I thought, okay, it's time to do a haul now. I've got a few things to share with you. So I've not actually shuffled it yet or been able to use it, but as soon as I'm finishing the video, it's Saturday at the time of me filming, so I'm gonna be using the weekend to get into this, and I'm super excited. There's something about this particular artwork that is giving kind of like Alice in Wonderland, but also just very fantasy, phantasmagoric, a bit absurd in a good way, that really appeals to me. And the bright colors, the very elemental kind of beings appeals to me. The cups are merfolk kind of people. The wands are all foxes kind of people. The pentacles, they look like fairy types, and then the swords are all birds. This is an RWS inspired deck, but it definitely goes its own way. Like, it's not a clone, but you can see it was inspired by the RWS. There's something about the evolution of each suit which is really interesting. The fact that, for example, the foxes in the wands, the more the suit advances, the more tails they have. Kind of like in Japanese folklore with the fox of 9 tails. I think they're called kitsune, I might be wrong. I'm really excited to finally have this in my hand because it's one I've been wanting for a really, really long time. So I'm happy that it finally made its way to me. And then this was a surprise purchase, which, to be completely honest, I only purchased because it was massively reduced and would have cost me the same amount to ship one deck or two. Here we again have those really cool pamphlet, but we also have a couple of cards with some spreads and some things about the artist and the contributors and this particular deck. Now the Tarot of Starbound Fantasia is actually bringing the RWS, but also the Thoth and the Marseille. And so here the influences are a lot different from the previous one. This is their second deck, so this one came first, and then this one came, I think, couple of years later, you'll see that the quality of the artwork is very similar. Obviously, it's the same artist, so you recognize straight away the art style. However, the actual representation of each card is definitely a lot more inspired for me by Marseille, and especially Toth. I see a lot of Toth toothy teeth inspiration here, especially in the pips, which I'll share with you later. And I'm so glad I ended up picking this up. It was not the deck I originally wanted, but come on, can we talk about this strength card? I live. Hangman, like, wow, how beautiful. The Nut association, the Egyptian goddess of the sky, and the fact that they've literally lost their head, but they really made it at the same time. There is a lot of symbolism in this deck. There's a lot of occult references in this deck, and there's a lot more than meets the eye. This is gonna be a deep deck, I can tell. I think it's definitely one that you could pick up and use straight away out of the box, but I think for me personally, it's one that's gonna require also to sit with it and kind of like really pay attention to all the symbolism, all the details. Minors are a lot more pipish than the previous one, which was fully illustrated. But at the same time, I think it's pips, but one, it's beautiful. Two, it's illustrated. There's still symbolism. There's still animals here. There is those Marseille subtleties. There's those Toth subtleties. Considering I'm in my Marseille kind of year, I thought it would be also interesting. Look at this particular Head of Cups. Like, it's pipish, but it's not just pips. This is Pepsi pips for sure. The amount of illustration and the scenery in it, I think, is really interesting. Here we have the Queen of Cups. She's gorgeous. Obviously, because it's, I forgot to say, because it's Toth, we have a different court representation. Yeah, we have Queen, Page, Knight, and King, which I think is more in line with Toth, except I don't think in the Toth it's called Page and Knight. I think it's called like Prince, Princesses. So that could be a bit of a struggle for me, who doesn't necessarily enjoy reading the Toth. The good thing is I can just shuffle it the way I want, and if I want to start with the Page, I will. Who's gonna stop me? Nobody. So I'm not sure I'm gonna keep the court cards the way that the artist intended. I don't like having the princesses and changing the order. Like, it just doesn't make sense in my brain. For me, it's Page, Knight, Queen, and King. That's it. That's how it makes sense. So I'm probably gonna change that. But if you wanted to keep it toothy, then go for it. I just think this deck is really vibrant. It's really cool, really colorful. There's a bit of a steampunk almost aspect to it, I think, in some parts. There's like, I don't know, some kind of machinery mixed in nature. It's just really cool, and I'm excited to get into this, especially because it was not necessarily something I had planned to get, but I'm happy I do. The particular silver edging does come off on your fingers a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. Can you see that? Looks like I bitch slapped Tinkerbell. I'm not mad about it, but just so you know, it might require a couple of uses before that excess glitter comes off. Let's move on to a deck I've already had for a few months. I meant to share with you in my last deck haul, but at the time of me filming I was like starting to flare up, so I didn't manage to get through all of the decks I wanted to share, so I saved this one to share with you in this particular video. But I've been using it consistently for the last 3-4 months, so this isn't technically new anymore, but you've never really seen it, so I'm sharing with you. Although for those of you who watched my pick a card video, you would have seen this deck because I've already put it to use, and it's been a really good deck for me to use. It's been a really useful tool, so I'm excited to share it with you. This is a French deck called l'Oracle DCK, or the Oracle DCK. It's by Jean-Patrick Desconick and illustrated by Olivier Noël. The great thing about this particular deck, first of all, is the amount of cards you get. You get 82 cards. So we love that. I love a chunky deck. You know me, I'm a greedy bitch. I love big decks, especially Oracle decks. The more cards, the better. The second awesome thing is that even though this particular deck is French made and French created, guidebook is actually bilingual, both in French and in English. So you'll have no problem using this particular deck, because as you're gonna see, for each of the card, let's pick this one for example. This is the friend card. The top part is in French, the bottom part, same thing, but in English. You have in the guidebook a page for each card every single time. It tells you the general guidance and then a daily guidance. And this is definitely a deck that is more tailored around divination, around guidance for day-to-day life. It's a very practical deck, so it's not one that I would recommend if you are thinking of doing like spiritual work, although you could totally use it, but self-love work or self-empowerment work. This is not necessarily the deck that I would recommend you to use. This, however, is fantastic for day-to-day things, practical things. If you want to ask about your work life, your love life, your relationship, your family life, your next holiday, literally divination, day-to-day guidance, practical things, this deck will be fantastic for that. Every single card, as you can see, it's not titled, it's just numbered. And then in the guidebook, you'll see the title for the card. I love that so much, because even though the guidebook is really well done, and I'm sure that you would get a lot out of it, I've not actually been using this deck with the guidebook because I found it to be so intuitive, and I've actually associated my own meanings to the card. So that's why I absolutely adore a deck without any writing on it, because for me it lets my intuition run wild, and I need that sometimes. I need the ability to completely and totally let loose with my intuition, not narrow myself down to keywords. Sometimes it's important to have that structure, especially if you are feeling biased towards a situation, and in those cases you could rely on the guidebook to make sure that you're getting what you need out of this particular reading. But I find that most of the time there is a lot of freedom to be gained with those kind of decks that have no keywords. I enjoy them so much, like the soul cards, using Dixit for example, and I think that the paintings on this particular deck are so beautiful. Look at this. I could have that hanged in my room right now. I think it's gorgeous. So I love the artwork. A lot of the cards are relating to day-to-day things. I don't know if you've seen, there's like a burglar card, there's like a health card, a childhood card, and work and money, but there's also things that are a lot more abstract, like the ocean and nature and time. So this is a really well done, well-rounded deck. I mean, it's 82 cards, so there's gonna be so much there you can do. This is like the hacker, for example. That's how I would read it, like the hacker or the person who's like, you know, on the web watching. If I was pulling this card for someone, I would say check out who's following you, check out, maybe have a look at your followers, and maybe have a little bit of a clean, because there might be people following you who are not there to engage, they're just there to steal your content, for example. We have a moving card, we have like the control card, someone who's controlling someone with a remote. This is just super clever. It's a really cool deck, it's modern, it's fresh. Here we're talking about relationships, like there's just so much you can do, manipulation, the mirror, there's just a lot you can do. And for me, especially in terms of like readings for others, like my pick a card readings and stuff, when I've been doing things like, I think I'm using this in a reading called The Next 3 Months, or yeah, I think that's it, The Next 3 Months. It's timeless, so if you want to check it out, it's not meant to be the next 3 months from today, it's meant to be the next 3 months from when you're watching it. For getting the vibes, like the energies coming and stuff, it was great. It read really well. Look at this fear card, it's really cool. It's really well balanced. There's light, there's shadow, also quite humorous in some of the cards, like this is the emotions card with the smileys, which I think is really cool. So I've been adoring this deck so much, and I think this is one of my favorite cards. Look at it, it's the help card. It's a little turtle that's helping a little mouse to cross the river. I can't, it's so cute. Let's move on to a belated birthday present that I knew was gonna come later, that I received recently and that I've been so grateful for. This is a Spiral Oracle by Lily Acuna. She is Chilean, I believe, Chilean artist, and this deck is an indie deck. It exists both in Spanish and in English. This is one of those decks that's also been on my wish list, and I've been looking for it, and it was quite hard to get to me here, shipped here. But my friends ended up finding this deck secondhand. Someone was reselling their version. It was barely touched. I think they literally just looked at the cards and put it back. I guess it didn't resonate for them. So she was like, I found this deck on secondhand. do you want it for your birthday? I'll get it for you and I'll ship it over to you. And I was like, oh yes, please. So I was super excited. And I want to thank one of my viewers who was trying to send me this deck earlier in the year. If you're watching, you know who you are. We had some problem with this postage at the time, so it couldn't happen, but they knew that I had really wanted this deck and they were willing to send it over to me. And even though it didn't work out, I want to say a huge thank you to you, because that was so kind of you to try and make it happen. So thank you for thinking of me. But yeah, I finally got my hands on this deck and I've had it for almost a month now. I think it was like mid-May when I received it. Here are the backs. This is very spiritual. Compared to the previous oracle I just showed you, this particular oracle deck is completely different. Here we're not talking about practical day-to-day life, we're talking about big spiritual themes, connection with your higher self, connection with the divine, connection with your guides. We're talking about chakras and higher beings and cosmic consciousness and things that can feel a bit more woo-woo, I would say. I'm here for all of it. I love practical things. I also love more spiritual things. And what touched me about this particular deck is the artwork. I find the artwork absolutely beautiful. And this, even though it's very focused around cosmic connections and connection to the divine and your guides and your higher self, it is not in the vibe of star children and being from Lemuria and being from another planet and all of those spiritual concepts, new age concepts that are not my vibe. I don't like the whole idea of star seeds and all of that. It's not for me. It's just, I don't resonate with that. If you enjoy those things, if it brings you comfort, that is totally fine. I'm saying that personally, the concept of star seed, of people coming from another planet, it doesn't appeal to me. Like, it doesn't make me feel better. So and this could look like one of those decks, but actually it's not rooted in that philosophy at all. Even though it's very cosmic and very, like, you know, new age looking, it is in some ways very grounded. It's more about connecting to Mother Nature, to your guides, your guardians, but always rooted in nature. There's so much nature, so much animal here, so much connection to Mother Earth, which does speak to my practice, which does resonate with my beliefs. And so I like this a lot because it's spiritual without being too, like, remotely accessible that I don't find a connection with it. Actually, the concepts here I found have been very powerful. And the keywords, some of them are a bit strange, like cosmic uterus, cool forest shade. If you were to pull this and not use the guidebook, you potentially would be like, cool. And that was a bit my worry before getting this deck. I was like, I love the artwork, but I don't know if I'd be able to use it without the guidebook. Actually, I've found that I get so much from the images. Intuitively, I just get so many downloads, like it really speaks to my soul. But on top of that, the actual guidebook is really well written. Like I said, for all of my Spanish speakers, this deck does exist in Spanish as well, which is super cool. So for example, embrace knowledge. I mean, embrace knowledge is already as a keyword or key sentence. It's easy to understand, I guess easier than the cool forest shade, for example. You probably could make out meaning more so, as well as everything going on in the image. But then in the actual guidebook, you always get a message and it's always written in the first person, like it's always I. So when you read it, it acts almost like mantras, because you're like, I leave indifference behind. I contemplate my ancestors focusing on their light and no longer on their wounded egos. I am now honoring and healing my roots. I acknowledge the sublime creation that I am. It's all about the I. So reading this feels like affirmations, feels like a mantra, and that in itself feels very healing. And then you don't just have the write-up, you always, every time, have one extra keyword in bold. So the keyword linked to embrace knowledge is roots. And as you can see here, everything is connected, it's respect. So those, sometimes when I've been using the deck, the one, that's that one keyword that sticks out to me, it's roots. And that just one thing is enough to give me the whole meaning I need. Or sometimes it's literally just the image and I get like a lot of random intuitive hits out of it, and sometimes it's needing to read this to act as mantras, affirmation, like a little healing ritual. I am in awe of the talent of this artist. Card here was painted, and I really encourage you to follow her on Instagram because she's so talented. She always shares her art, and her paintings are so vibrant and so beautiful, and you can tell so much work was put into this. This is very different to anything I own. Like I was saying, I don't have anything like this. I've been pulling card every night to like reflect on, to kind of wrap up my day and to gather myself. That's how I've been using lately. It was also a way for me to get to know the deck because it's so different to what I have. I wanted to get a better understanding at how it reads. Okay, let's wrap up with the last orders that came in together. This was actually all bought in one go. Dad actually had to travel to France again at the beginning of the month of May, and he had to go see some family for a family emergency, and he ended up staying for 3 weeks. And so he was like, do you want me to bring back anything? Because he knows that as soon as there's someone that travels to France, it's like a way for me to get decks that I wouldn't be able to get here, or to get skincare, or to get whatever I can't find on this island. So he was like, what do you want me to bring back? So I was like, let me just do one order of indie decks that I have been thinking about getting for a while. That is a way for me to bring back here without paying any shipping, because it's just going to put it back in this suitcase. So I did an order on Tarot NL, which is based in the Netherlands, I believe, which is an indie shop. And I also did an order on the Roi de Coupe, which is now called Salon des Arcanes, which is an indie shop based in France. So from Tarot NL, the one based in the Netherlands, I got the Divine Nature Oracle deck, which is a mass market deck, but there was no way for me to get it anymore after Book Depository closed, so it was my chance to get it. And I also got the Spread Crafter Quest expansion, which is the expansion pack from the Spread Machine deck, which I already adore. So let's quickly look at this one. This is a newish release. I mean, I guess like the last 2 months or something. It's mass market, and it's by Angie Selins and Greg Spalenka. I love this deck. This is already a favorite. It comes with one of those. It's cute, but I don't use it. And it comes with a guidebook, colored. Each card has a write-up, really cool. The way that Angie Selins write, I've never had one of their decks before, but I can get behind actually. Now I've used this one, I'm really enjoying the writings, and I'm thinking I might pick up some of their other decks at later time. But this one, I need to thank Neha from Dark Fate Tarot for putting that on my radar, because she was like, check this out, you might like it. And oh my god, I loved it so much that I had to get my dad to bring it back for me. Here are the backs, and it's really beautiful. It's like this gold accents, gorgeous, and it's gold edged as well. How many cards? We have 44 cards. Not bad, not ideal. I would prefer a little bit more, but not bad, you know. I guess it's standard. What really drew me for this particular Oracle deck, and I've been using the crap out of this for the last couple of months, so this is not a first impression, like this is a review. I can tell you I love this deck so much, and I've been using it so much. What really has drawn me in this deck are the keywords. I think the keywords are so potent and unique. Stand for justice. Wow. How, like, the pregnant justice, so cool. Court the divine feminine. Own your power. Establish sanctuary. Like yes, yes, yes. All of those keywords, they are deep, they're potent, there's so much you can get into. You can even create a whole spread around each of these particular keywords, which I've been doing for my own practice, and it's been so much fun. I would pick out a card, let's say Kiss the Muse, and from that I would create a whole spread pulling other tarot and stuff around the concept of Kiss the Muse. Because Kiss the Muse is not a concept I'm seeing on a lot of Oracle decks, and yet there's so much you can do with that. So I have been loving the crap out of this Oracle. I think the artwork is beautiful. I can't wait to get re-edition of the Tildewick Tarot, which I have pre-ordered, which I haven't gotten yet, but I think it will be so beautiful with that. I've used this along the Runic Tarot, it was really beautiful, along the Tarot Villeneuve, it was really beautiful. So many pairings that I'm not thinking about, because I'm not the best at pairing, but I'm sure it would look really beautiful. But even as a standalone deck, just the power of those particular keywords, it has charmed me so much. It's a deep deck and the writings are very empowering. The whole idea of this deck is to empower yourself, is to relight that fire, is to make you feel like the phoenix that you are. Stand tall and get through anything, and even when you are feeling like you have reached rock bottom, you can get through it. You can pause and read this, for example, if you want to know a little bit more about how the guidebook reads, because I think that's a good example. But as soon as I read this, I was like, yep, I'm so in. Your soul is a forest full of stories the moon whispers late at night. Indulge your own nature and rewild your life. Absolutely, I'm all about that life. That same order from Tarot NL, I also got finally my hands on the Spreadcrafter Oracle, the Quest edition. I have the Spreadcrafter from Kim, which I backed on Kickstarter at the time, and I didn't back the extension at the time because I'm stupid and an idiot, and I've regretted it so much to not back this particular expansion because I love gaming, and the whole idea of this, it's like a spread crafting machine. So it's to create tarot spreads, oracle spreads. For each of the cards you have a keyword, you have questions, and you have categories. This is one of my most used decks of the last couple of months. I love this so much. It has brought so much to my practice, so I don't want to go too much into it, but I'll just say that if you're a gamer, or if you love fantasy, if you love RPGs, if you love D&D, or if you love any kind of role-playing games or video games that are like around quests and adventures and fantasy, or even if you love like fantasy books about magic and quests and all those things, you're gonna love this. If you watch The Witcher, you're gonna love this. If you play Zelda, you will love this. This is for all of my fantasy lovers out there, because it brings tarot and oracle and give it a gaming kind of theme that we all understand. Like, we all know the importance of a map. When people go on an adventure, on a quest, the map is like so important. We all know what a mana potion is. If you have been gaming for any amount of time, those kind of RPG games or adventure games, you know what mana potion is. Speed buff, which are usually the potions you give your character in a game to make them faster. Here it's how can you increase your productivity, efficiency and pace, how can you accelerate progress and momentum. So it's taking themes from gaming, specifically fantasy games like RPGs and stuff, and bring it back to day-to-day life to help you gamify your life. And that's something that I've been doing ever since I started reading tarot. I have been doing that, I just didn't realize I was doing that. So to have a tool that gives you structure to that particular way of thinking is just beyond. Again, watch out for my monthly faves. I'll share with you more how I've been using it. Also, watch out for future pick a card readings that are gonna be using this, because I'm having so much fun, I need to share the fun. So the last couple of decks I want to share with you were, again, decks that I got my dad to bring back for me from France, because then I saved so much money on shipping, from shop The Roi de Coupe, which is now called le Salon des Arcanes. And again, I leave Nicolas' website down below. I will leave his YouTube channel down below, because he started to do videos where he shares all the decks that are up in his shop. I've shopped from there a few times and it's been a really good experience. So for those of you who are based in Europe and who are looking for indie decks at reasonable prices, I really recommend this shop. The two decks I ordered from him, and the last one on this huge haul, are the Dame Darcy Tarot, Carnival at the End of the World Tarot, and I also got the book that went with it. Let's start with the Dame Darcy, because I won't go too much into it. I think so many of you have seen and know of this deck. It's an indie deck by Dame Darcy. It's a mermaid deck. I love anything ocean related, which is mostly why I got this deck. It's been out for a good few years. Like, I think it's one of the oldest indie decks out there, to be honest. I'm sure you've all seen it. It's very well known, it's very beloved. Honestly, I got it because it was mermaids and ocean decks, and I kind of have a mini collection in my tarot collection and oracle collection, which is dedicated to anything ocean related. And I also love pirates, one thing I absolutely adore. I grew up on pirate stories, growing up on a tropical island. We have so much pirate stories here, and I still adore them. and obviously any kind of pirate books, pirate movies, I find so fascinating and interesting. So this mixes mermaids, pirates, and cute artwork. So it was only a matter of time before I picked it up, to be honest. This is one of those that I've been like thinking about getting for years, and I never took the plunge. And this time, because my dad was there and he could bring it back for me, and I was already making an order for the other deck I'm about to show you, I was like, well, I might as well get it at the same time because I've been thinking about it for ages and it's cute. I've not actually read with this yet because I've been keeping it for Cancer season. I don't know why, but this deck is giving Cancer vibes, and it didn't feel right to use it during Gemini season or Taurus season, so I've been holding on to it, which is why it's still in order. I don't know why, sometimes I get a deck and I won't use it until it feels right. Like, just because I get a new deck doesn't mean it's time, right? Sometimes you just have to wait for the right time. And so when I got this deck, I've been flicking through it, I've been looking at it, of course, but I've been just thinking, you know what, no, this is Cancer for me, this is giving Cancer vibes, so it had to be the right time for me to get to know this deck, and it's time it's coming, because like I said, Cancer season is literally around the corner, and I'm super excited. Last up, we have the Carnival at the End of the World Tarot. I really have to focus when I say this because I've been calling this deck the Carnival at the End of the Rainbow like all the time to my friends by text message. I was texting Nia like, oh my god, I'm so excited, I finally got the Carnival at the End of the Rainbow, and she was like, it's at the end of the world. And like literally I just can't imprint this name on my brain. To me it's the Carnival at the End of the Rainbow. I don't know why. I've already renamed it in my brain and I'm struggling so hard to remember the real title of this deck. So this is the Carnival at the End of the World by Madame Lulu, and then you can get the Madame Lulu's Book of Fate, which is the accompanying guidebook. I'm gonna be completely honest, when indie decks don't come with a guidebook, I don't always get the accompanying guidebook because one, it's more money and it's expensive, like indie decks are expensive enough, especially if they are like very inspired by the RWS. I'm like, I don't need to necessarily have a separate guidebook, I know how to read tarot, I'm fine. And there's sometimes I'm also a bit petty because it annoys me to have to make a separate order for the guidebook. I much prefer, when I'm paying for an indie deck, much prefer to pay maybe a little bit more to get the cards and the guidebook together rather than to have to pay separately for the book. I don't know, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but instead of just getting the cards and having to pay extra for the guidebook, I would rather pay a little bit more to get a package, everything together. Like, that's just me, unless it's PDF or something like that, in which case, yeah, it makes sense because it's not printed. I made an exception for this because I watched a couple of review videos. I actually watched Candy's reviews, which I will leave Candy from Candy Soul and Soil's channel down below. Really enjoy her channel. I will leave her down below. Her review helped me to like confirm the fact that I wanted the guidebook for this deck, because this deck is so quirky and what it has to say is so unique that I knew I wanted to hear its voice and I knew I wanted to read what it had to say. So I'm very happy about this decision, and I'm glad I decided to purchase the accompanying guidebook, but it's not something I do all the time. Here are the backs, and this is very quirky, I guess is the best way to describe, quirky, kooky, absolutely bonkers deck. I first saw this deck, I think 3 years ago, and at the time when I was first seeing this, my first reaction was absolutely not today Satan, hell no. There was something about it that almost repulsed me. It was just like, nope, don't like this, not for me, thank you, bye. And then the more obviously you use tarot, the more you are growing, your tastes change, your taste evolves. There's like decks that I used to love that I don't use anymore, and there's decks that I used to hate that now I find really interesting. And because my practice has changed, because my way of reading has changed, because I've changed as a person, this deck suddenly, about a year ago, it was like, wow, I think I want this. Who am I? What is going on? Have I been abducted by aliens and have they done a brain surgery? I don't know, but I like this now. So I've been on like the radar for it for about a year, been looking at reviews, and like I said, like Candy's review really helped me to solidify wanting this deck. It was like the icing on the cake, I guess you could say in English. So when my dad was going to France and I knew I could get this deck from Nicolas' shop, I was like, yeah, this is a big yes, this is definitely a deck I want. And it doesn't disappoint. It definitely is one I'm taking my time with, but it is one I'm taking super slow, getting to know really slowly, because it's very unique and quirky, and it has so much to say that I need to let the readings I'm getting with this distill. Like, I'm not finding I'm reaching this deck for day-to-day questions or quick fix questions at all, or like card of the day kind of vibes. I'm sure you could, but that's not how I've been feeling like using this deck. I've been wanting to use this deck for deeper questions. This kind of work tends to need me to take things slower and to ponder and to let things marinate a little bit. So the amount of reading I've done with this is not huge, because each reading has been needing to be sat with for a while, but it's already making a strong impression. I'm not sure yet what I think of it, so I'm reserving judgment. It's definitely unique, it definitely has a strong voice. I'm enjoying a lot what it has to say, and I'm very happy I bought the guidebook that goes with it, because it's been immensely helpful to help to connect with this. In that being said, I'm still getting to know this, so I'm reserving judgment. Like I said, I'm gonna need another month or two to fully like make my opinion with this. Some cards absolutely enthrall me, like this Tempest card is one of my favorite. There's something about this that is so poetic that it makes me want to cry. Some other cards are a bit more of a struggle, exactly like this one. I get like physical reaction to some of the cards still that are a bit strong. I don't think I like this, so I need more time. I need more time with this. A lot of the cards feel poetic and touch me, and some of them are still giving me that gut reaction, which obviously means that there's something there I need to dig into. So my friends, this is it. Oh my god, this was such a long haul. Why do I have to spend 5 minutes speaking about each deck? I'm so sorry. I hope you enjoyed seeing all the new decks, the new books, the Oracle decks, mass market, indie. There was a bit for everyone here, so I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely loved being able to share that with you. Let me know in the comments what are the decks you're enjoying at the moment. They don't have to be new, just the decks you've been loving. And I just want to say a huge thank you for being here. I really appreciate you so much. I know this year I've not been able to do as much consistent videos as I wish. My health is still a big challenge, but I just really wanted to say thank you for your presence, your kindness, your support. It really makes a difference in my day-to-day life, and I'm really grateful that we've got such a lovely community here. So until my next video, I'm sending you lots of good vibes and keep navigating the waves of your soul. Bye!